So first of all, my name is Nia McAllister, and I am so grateful that all of you are here this evening joining us for tonight's open mic. I'm the Visitor Experience Manager and host of this ongoing series that has now grown over the last two and a half years. And it's really wonderful now that we've been able to reach so many new people in this virtual space. And so as we gather here this evening, we are living through tumultuous times, and it's important to acknowledge what we're living through. So Moad stands in solidarity with Black Lives Matter, as there are multiple pandemics killing us, including the ongoing systemic violence against Black people. We honor and mourn the senseless murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tony McDade, Jonathan Price, and so many others who lost their lives at the hands of police brutality and racial injustice, including those whose names we do not know. We want to acknowledge that as this list unfortunately continues to grow, we will continue to say their names and continue to bring awareness in the fight for real justice for the global Black community. I also want to acknowledge the spaces that we're occupying. Though we're gathered virtually, many of us are settlers, immigrants, or descendants of those forcibly brought to this continent. And our institutions were founded upon exclusions and erasures of the indigenous peoples whose lands we are located on. It is with deep respect that Moad acknowledges that even in a virtual space, our people, our work, our network servers are all on native lands. And so we thank the indigenous peoples of the Bay Area and beyond who've stewarded this land throughout the generations. Now, many of us, I'm sure, are feeling many emotions currently. And so tonight's space is a place to recognize our grief, our anger, our exhaustion, but also to seek comfort and joy in each other's company. And so everyone is welcome in this space, and it is of the utmost importance that we center respect and continue to create spaces that amplify Black voices. I'm so grateful to find this community and healing through art with all of you. And so for those of you who are new or returning to this space, generally the format of the event is that we start off with the first half of our open mic readers. Then midway through the event, we have a featured poet, which this evening is Eltinaé, calling in from Granada, Spain. So grateful to have you here this evening. And then following his feature, we will close out with our remaining open mic readers. And so if you are not the person sharing, I do ask that you keep your microphones on mute out of respect for the speaker. Though open mics are interactive, affirmations are always important. So I encourage you to use the chat to support each other, call out lines that stand out to you. Air claps and snaps are always welcome. And so make sure we're here to support each other. Each reader will have 4 minutes to share their piece or pieces. I do ask that you please respect the space and the time of everyone else. We have a full lineup, so please stick within the 4 minutes. And I will be posting the lineup after I wrap up these last few words. And I will read out the readers' names prior to them going up. If for some reason I skip you or you weren't here to hear this right now, please send me a message and I'll make sure you get in the lineup. And those of you who are in the lineup that I sent the email to before, you'll have a little bit of a heads up of knowing when you're gonna come on. And before we jump into it with our first reader, I would like to thank Art Bridges for their generous support for this program and this series and all of the ongoing programming that we do at Moad. And so to begin this evening, I would like to invite Tricia Cochee up to the mic. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Nia. Can everyone hear me? Yes, thank you. So we've just ended, or actually are still in, a period of celebrating the veil, the connecting thread with our ancestors, late October into early November. And so I'm going to read this poem about one of my ancestors, Gunsmith Jones. And actually, this is a poem out of my just released book called The Orisha Talks. Gunsmith Jones, enslaved child of Ogun, free child of Ogun, bought out of slavery by your father, Allen Jones, blacksmith, gunsmith, and a free man of Ogun. James Monroe Jones, AKA Gunsmith Jones, Oberlin College graduate, warrior magistrate, free man of Ogun, alchemist hands with artisan detail and doctor's precision. My great great grandfather, his guns, not just tools of death, but priceless works of art, winning international accolades, prizes, and even liberation. Gunsmith Jones was a friend to John Brown. He told John, well, like the last poets declared 111 years later, I'm paraphrasing just a bit. Black folks scared a revolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for starting us out with honoring ancestors in that way. That was beautiful. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Joyce Young. Welcome.
Thank you. So my first poem is in the voice of a president that I have imagined, and her name is President Cindy. Why worry my spleen, my mad? I deserve a better gig than holding these cinders. Fire has a purpose, but not one I am always able to understand. I love to hold a torch, which is not the same as carrying a torch. My mind swirls orange, red, yellow, flame-like. 80-mile-per-hour winds sweep through. Fire's wake requires tearing down or rebuilding. Your choice. I'll wait. Hold a cup of water. Drink it slowly as you consider my offer. Your hair is gray. You don't have much time. Thank you. And I just have one more. I've been writing a series of poems in response to a poem by Tracy K. Smith, a former poet laureate. And her poem is titled, "The United States Welcomes You." And I've just been taking lines that appeal to me. So this particular poem is from this line. And why do you invade our night? Hands raised, eyes wide, mute as ghosts. Because there is nothing left for us to say and everything left for you to do. Because silence, when sent your way, is the most powerful weapon. Because our eyes have always been open, wide, and we haven't missed a thing. Because night is when you do your dirtiest work. Because our raised hands signal we're still here, we're not going anywhere. What you can't see sustains us. We've got backup. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Those were both wonderful pieces. I was like literally typing in the chat right now, one of the lines, that we're not going anywhere. And I think that resonates. So thank you. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Raymond Nat Turner. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you, Nia. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Hanging in there. Okay.
This space is lovely.
Okay. This first piece is called "That Is Not the Question." The question is not if tear gas breath thugs weaponizing COVID, co-signing starvation, stage whispering, "Lock her up," ripping children from mothers' arms, splintering families will abandon their bunkers and vacate the warhouse. The question is, when will the general strike sprout wings gliding across the country? And how cram capitalist hill and city streets get, how surrounded the war house is, and for how many days, weeks, months, years, if necessary. The question is not if assassins, coup plotters, war profiteers plant themselves in perpetuity in fertile soil of socialism. The question is community clinics, postal banking, solar panels, windmills, and when. The question is, until we've boned up on restorative justice, Terre Haute or Beaumont for Boss Tweet, Leavenworth or Lompoc for lawless Lobar. And this is from, I wrote this in 2017, and it's called The First 100 Days, DAZE, of Boss Tweet and Scammony Hall, HAUL. Something happened in the land of unknown gnomes, hanging chads, hacks, leaks, and tweets. Police state where those who know don't say, those who say don't know, where figures don't lie, but liars figure, and 100 retired CEOs pig out on pensions of $253,000 a month. High wire work done, clutching his Peace Prize, the Drone Ranger rode into the sunset, saddlebags dripping snake oil, beer, and blood, bulging with 30 pieces of silver. Happy trails to hospitals hit with hellfires, burned babies, dead Muslims, deported Mexicans, prosecuted whistleblowers. Happy trails to habeas corpus, privacy, posse comitatus, and bamboozled Negroes, liberals, labor, leftists, left dangling hopelessly on his warhead. Something happened. Dr. Goebbels blushes at the big tent, two-ring circus arriving every 4 years, 1% pickpockets, working crowds, distracted by clowns, mules, elephants, false flag flying operation, ball of confusion. Something happened, deja vu, Boss Tweet, Scammony Hall's first 100 days, looping like 2,920 of the Drone Rangers, 416 weeks of W, 96 months of Slick Willie, 4,380 days of Reaganism, gunsmoke clouds, rivers of blood, Jackson's Trail of Tears, 400 years, unabated death, destruction. Something happened. Follow the money. Not Boss Tweet's bully in China shop shtick. Follow the money. Not claptrap trumped up from his bully pit. Bull pit. Follow the money. Draining the swamp. Stocking the cabinet with light-fingered fundamentalists. Monster green eyes fixed on making fruits of our labor their ATM. Something happened. Banksters are back, guns to our heads, filling their Goldman Sachs. This is a stick up, too big to fail. Will Boss Tweet unmuzzle Hannibal Lecter generals, select sons of Dixie to look away from police murders, charge battery operated Uncle Toms with converting projects to condos and casinos, reduce Fourth Estate to Third Reich retweeters licking boots instead of hurling shoes. Lesser evil luminaries grow dim. Hold your nose, extremists can't breathe through openings for organizing, speaking truth to power. Snouts stuck in the mule's posterior, moving it left. Rip Van Winkles are waking from 8 years sleep, wedging Q-tips between shutters. First responders alert as no doze, washed down by buckets of black coffee, rising, turning off Foxbox, silencing phones, games, getting Jehovah, going door to door, meeting more than four corners. Speaking of striking at the point of production, shutting things down, taking over, we are still the ones we've been waiting for.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much, Raymond,
Indeed,
for your
merci.
poetry, for your words, for your presence. Thank you. Next up to the mic, I'd like to invite Lorraine Bonner. Welcome up.
Thank you. Thank you, Nia. Thank you for this space, and thank you for everyone and their poetry. I'd like to read two poems. The first is called Inhalation. I want to know if the universe breathes as we do, as some believe. And where are we in that vast cycle, the swift inrush, the outflow? What happens at peak expansion, the top of the roller coaster, that pause before the shrieking cascade into gravity, the pool of relaxation, the end of the exhale, sound throb of the heart resting in the quiet dark? I don't think we are in the quiet dark. More likely in the turbulent outflow, the walls of the chest closing, less and less air as all is expelled helter-skelter. We are crushed together, elbow to rib, like riders on a subway. Pobre, maskini, the poor, carried along the current, wafting from the universe's nose. And what is the air that the universe breathes? What atmosphere do we tumble into, scattered among the galaxies like people scattered by conquistadors, scattered by slavers, never to see family again? And then, as eons pass, the muscles know when to contract, the chest to open, and we are drawn back into the expanding chambers. The universe rises like a balloon, a sense of dissipation. Our touch is soft. This is where we want to be, large, in a universe made of cells just like us, breathing just like us. We need the wolf. We need the bear. They walk among the stars the universe has inhaled. We become constellations. We guide the fugitive. We are all fugitives. And this is called Election Returns, which I actually wrote this morning. Half my fellow citizens hate me, like the Terminator, naked metal hand scrabbling through flames, flinging itself at my throat, relentless. Half the people in this country want me dead, want educated, uneducated, starving, homeless, sick. They hate womb and seed, relentless for centuries. You'd think by now they'd be used to me, all the TV doctors and presidents, but let me move next door, and all the very fine people leave. Schools rot, cops come. Some people talk about the Hutu and Tutsi, Shia and Sunni, Armenia and the Turks, Germany and the Jews. I'm talking about the half who voted, who cared enough to show how much they hate. I'm grateful the young people only read history. Living it wears you down, and they must stay sharp. They bring new art and music, new love and joy. They bring vibranium, and still the haters hate. Each drowning generation hopes the next will breach the surface, gulp air, find a boat, a floating log, a human hand, anything but the anchor and chain. Half my fellow citizens hate me, but like women who still believe men love them, some of us, even some of me, still want to believe, still want to trust the way a baby will suck on anything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, for both of those pieces and that very fresh new piece that you just shared that I think a lot of us can relate and resonate with those sentiments. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Next up, I would like to invite Sarai Bordeaux. Welcome, Sarai.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing this space. It's always amazing. This is called Chicken Fried Steak. There are certain parts of my cycle, like life cycle, like seasons, like mini seasons, 16-day stints or 18-month spans, you know, spances in time where things have just been weird. And on top of all the weird that there is collectively right now, like in our understanding, in my waking, I feel safe in saying that weird is an understatement. What else I have been understating is how okay it is that this weirdness has gotten to me, that I've been acting differently, that these words don't come as easily these days. Different demons for different seasons. Not everything can sparkle when there is no sunshine. Perihelion is approaching, and it's not just the earth that feels farthest away from the sunshine, from the light. It's time that I let the seasons reflect upon me. It's time that I recognize what fall really means, how dead leaves let go so easily, why dark at 5:45 is so messed up, like how the haunting of Halloween is just the beginning. Like a baby resisting sleep, knowing I need it subconsciously, I wander around like a zombie. Scared of things I need to let go of, I layer them on for the cold of the weather and the cold of my heart and mind. Try to prove to myself that I'll need these things in the winter, that I'll be able to decide more clearly in the spring, that I should just hold off on that thing a little longer till next summer maybe, because what I've built up is insufficient. It's not ready yet. I'm not ready yet, because I'm not healed enough yet not to need, because what is happening is I wish there was a singular word for stranger than fiction. Wish I could reclaim crazy, let those 5 letters calm me in this season, reassure me that it's okay not to feel okay right now, that I'm allowed to be a little bit bothered in all of this, to get knocked down by all of this. I'm not alone in all of this, though that's how I feel best sometimes in all of this. A mess is still a mess in all of this. Okay is not a baseline anymore. We know we are not, and yet that is not the end of things in all of this, and in all of its morbidity that excites me. What else is there when we care to ask even ourselves what wounds are coming up in this season and what we will allow to lick them clean? What are you hungry for this season right now? So much, I answer myself, and I have no idea how I'm gonna get there. Like, not a fucking clue. What I can get for myself right now, though, and I make sure to point this out to myself, though, is chicken fried steak. I love it. I love it, I think, and I smile. It comforts me. It tastes the best when I am about to regain my mind. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Sarai, for putting into words a lot of the shifts and uncertainties we're feeling. So thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Karita Wilson. Welcome up to the mic.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, my name is Karita, and the piece I'm gonna read today is called You've Got Mail. Growing up as a child, we lived in a typical Texas suburban neighborhood. 99% Black, monopoly-type houses in every brick and color, and each house had a yard, garage, and a mailbox planned at the end of the driveway. Seeing the mail truck was typically a happy feeling. Although the workers came in different genders and races, they all seemed to share a commonality, an expression of gratitude and a love for their job. On days the mail came, the mailman or woman would drive by in their mail truck, open the mailbox to place the mail inside, signal a head nod or smile, and slowly truck on to the next house. Going all of 2 miles per hour, they made their routes Monday through Saturday until all the neighborhood mailboxes were filled. Some days when I'd get home from school, my brother Derek and I would wait by the mailbox in excitement as we received an array of mail. Pictures of snow from our cousin in Milwaukee, my school grades and a free coupon to Burger King, a bill, a magazine, or my parents' paycheck. Other days, mail was nothing more than a wrinkled up Food Town ad or a letter from Publishers Clearinghouse scamming us with another chance to win a fake check. At our home, mail was opened with excitement. Nervousness got tossed to the side for 3 weeks or became trash. One Saturday morning, I was up watching TV while my brother Derek started cleaning. Before he started with the vacuum or filling my lungs with a whole can of air freshener, he would always take the mail from the counter and stash it on my mama's dresser. During her mornings of getting dressed for work, I'd quietly watch her take the stack of mail from on top of her perfumes and set it on another part of the dresser, my daddy's side. Over time, the mail kept stacking and leaning and stacking from white envelopes, big yellow envelopes, on down to more ads. It eventually got cleaned on days my mama grabbed a trash bag, and she got to tossing. One by one, I'd watched her open letters, keep what was necessary, and toss the other stuff in the trash. She was cleaning off the dust. Life has a way of forcing us to see what oftentimes gets overlooked from all the day-to-day. But like an elder would say, it ain't gonna clean itself up. Early on, I learned mail was a form of communication to or between parties delivered in the form of letters, packages, or ads. Comparable to mail delivery, sharing or expressing your gift is also a way of communicating, be it through writing, photography, poetically, artistically. It's all about having a genuine love for what you do. For years, I would hide from using my gifts publicly in fear of a number of things. And like old mail, my gift got tossed to the side and wasn't made a priority. Many days started with excitement, tension set in, then doubt, then fear. Add on life, jobs, lazy days, and excuses. They all got in the way, but I learned not utilizing my gift was no different than that stack of mail placed in the corner to collect dust. Like a plant, not feeding or nurturing your gift caused it to wither away. Just like the mailman, he too has days where a package gets sent to the wrong address or the delivery route includes an 80% chance of showers. Going through your journey is no different, as we all have days where we feel uncertain or have roadblocks. Life events take place, you feel unproductive, the state of our country is a hot damn mess, which makes us sad, and sometimes nothing makes any sense. But despite the rain, there's still mail to be delivered, and life teaches us that there is no perfect time, so if we don't start now, tomorrow may not come. So taking that leap, investing in yourself, making daily commitments, opening your mail, and using your gifts. Your gift is in the push. It's within that crinkled up envelope that's been stuck in the corner. That's the mail, AKA your gift that's been waiting to be set free. A little birdie whispered, never be too uninspired to work on your own dreams after working someone else's 8 to 5. If we never take the time to invest in our gifts, they'll pass us by. So through happy moments and productive days, edgy days, or blah days, it happens and is all a part of the process. Your vision board, daily affirmations to yourself, and remembering why you started is key. It's that feeling and being one step closer to making your vision a reality. Your mail is your gift, and no one can express your vision quite like you. You've got mail. Until next time, Karita.
Wow, thank you so much. I love that whenever you share, there's always this important moral and lesson that we can all apply to our lives. So thank you.
Thank you, Nia.
Next up, I would like to invite James Cagney to the mic. Welcome, James.
Hey, thank you for that. Good evening to everyone. I just wanted to share two quick poems, speaking of ancestors, dedicated to my father and his uncle, Eyewear Jordan. This first poem is called Preface to a Photograph. 3 Black men spooned from the same bowl stand embracing in my father's mobile home. The lightning flash of them frozen in the amber of 1976. Their rhyming saw blade eyes sparkle like lit matches. Men don't smile, but they are happy. Arms interlocked long as the interstate. It is night. In every room where my father stands, there is a river. Here, a river of oil sweetened with perch laps the drawn curtains. 3 Black men, blues singers of borderless ache, soldiers, gamblers, cowboys. The mahogany concentration in my father's 10,000-mile highway stare. Cousin JD in a 1970s plaid, juicy fruit leisure suit. And their great uncle Eyewear, a human spear in a tweed flat cap, chin up and flaring like a knife. And this piece is called House of Slams and Hollers. Who occupies the storefront houses at the crossroads? Shotgun houses like abandoned churches. One house slouched behind the musty aroma of trees. Windowsill radio chatters like a bird on caffeine. The living room smells swampy with ashes and bottle caps. Kitchen of vintage graveyard shift coffee. Boiled viceroys, cicadas with exoskeletons of brandy, and chickens chained in the backyard. Night turns over, haunted with moths. Air cooled with shuffled decks and howling hounds missing hell. The methane of certain ghosts gets drawn like window shades, dealt in, poured shots. At this place, where the road crosses its legs like a gentleman. Here lies the uncharted territories of some blues, stigmata blues, razor blade blues, blues 4 lips just out of reach, blues screaming blouses of plaster down bedroom walls. Choirs of apocalypse blues ignite the red wicks of their tongues, sing harmony to calm Bluegill River for Saturday's baptism of hot lead. Dawn rises with fire on its mind, takes off its top hat. Names smile from its mouth in comets, false crosses. Anything not already on the ground, holding on, praying, done grabbed a guitar, a shotgun, and ran. I thank you guys very much.
Thank you, James. Your poetry every single time, like I could just listen to it forever. Every image that you create with your words is incredible. So thank you.
Thank you for that.
Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Avacha. Welcome, Abacha. Are you still here with us, Abacha? I know I saw her in the participants. We'll come back to you. I would next like to invite up Nihal Mubarak. Welcome.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm so honored to be in this space. Thank you for having me. I will read 2 poems. This first one is called Unearthing. I often think about all the ways I've disappointed my father. I recall the time he called me something both of us wished he could swallow back into his chest. I think about how I love him as my father, but also as the first man who told me I was worth something. The Arabs used to bury their daughters alive. I ask myself sometimes if the hatred I feel for my body is a way of wanting those girls to replace me, to take back the earth that smothered them. The last thing they saw was their fathers lowering their infant bodies into the ground. I wonder if that's the real reason nothing grows in the desert. I wonder if my father would have buried me if he'd had the chance. And then this next one is called How To with Vague Instructions. 1, know the value of your breath. Savor the inhale. Picture your lungs expanding. Take in the air stolen from the throats of the ones whose lungs were stomped on. 2, learn from the steps of those who came before you. Stay off your lawn, your street. Stay away from storefronts and gas stations. Stay out of your own living room. Take refuge under your bed. Ask the shadows there to cloak you. 3, recall how often violence is a theme in children's bedtime tales. Think about who you would be in those stories. Think about how they would write you. 4, you are not Goldilocks or Red Riding Hood. You are the wolf. Actually, you are just an innocent bystander, but they see a wolf anyway. They are convinced you are somewhere you don't belong. Nothing here is just right. 5, always walk like the devil is on your heels. Don't run. That will only tempt him. Take long strides. Walk with your head high. Walk like you belong here. 6, don't look back. 7, don't get greedy. Just because you're breathing doesn't mean you're alive. You are a walking corpse. You just haven't learned how to occupy your own body yet. 8, picture yourself standing in a place that exists and also doesn't. Press your heels together 3 times and see if that does something. See if you can end up anywhere but here or be anything but Black. 9, there is no instruction for how to be Black in America. Thank you, guys.
Wow, I feel like I need to catch my breath from both of those pieces. Thank you so, so much for sharing. That was incredible. So we're at that halfway point in this evening. So I feel like this family connection is the perfect way to segue. I'm going to share a few pieces and then introduce our feature for this evening. So this first piece is entitled Muscle Memory. Muscle memory is only good for some things. 1, swallowing. 2, how 3 sections of hair become a braid. 3, the number of days it takes for a bruise to heal on my skin. 4, changing an earring without looking. 5, guiding soft fingertips until they find my release. 6, the way home. I need to remember how to breathe again. I pause what I'm doing, prepared to focus my efforts on one simple motion. I breathe in. and in and in and in and in and in and in, and still cannot catch my breath. I attempt a yawn, hoping to trick my body into filling my lungs with air I so desperately need. She don't fall for my tricks. Instead, she says, pretend like you don't need me anymore. Then what? Who will you become? Meet her in the third heartbeat, the one that thinks this is an appropriate time for double dutch. As if air is something to jump into and not the very medicine tomorrow counts on. I breathe in and in and in and out. Free, free at last. That piece was more so a reminder for myself that I've been practicing this entire week. I think we all need some big breaths together. And this next short piece that I'm going to share was actually a collaborative piece coming out of the archives. This is a piece from 2018, September, that I actually wrote with Reina J. Leon. We did a little writing exercise together, so I'm going to share this piece. The sea knows what justice is. It sings its own march. We too march on soil soaked with our ancestors' legacies. How many names call out their joy and their blood? By expectation. Say her name, say our name. Remember those before and those to come. Generations of children play in the sun and dance in the rain. For the future, we plant our seeds and our songs. March on, sing on, use on, keep on, resist, persist. For what is resistance without the resilience of our collective roots? Thank you. And so with that, I am so honored to introduce our featured poet for this evening. This evening, we are going to be hearing from Eltinaé, who is a Sudanese poet of Nubian descent, raised internationally as a third culture kid. His work has been translated into Arabic, Greek, Farsi, Spanish, and has appeared in world literature today. The Ordinary Chaos of Being Human, Many Muslim Words from Penguin, the African American Review, About Place Journal, Muftah, among others. He is the first place poetry winner of Muftah's creative writing competition At Home in the World, and co-winner of the 2019 Dignity Not Detention Prize from Poetry International. His debut collection, The Moral Judgement of Butterflies, is forthcoming from Eyewear Press in spring 2021. He has won the 2019 International Beverly Prize for Literature. He currently resides in Granada, Spain, and is so gratefully stayed up in the middle of the night to join us this evening for his feature. Welcome, Eltinaé.
Thank you so much, Nia. I really appreciate that introduction. Thank you guys for having me. It's a real honor always to stay up and to listen to this beautiful verses. It really uplifts me. Thank you so much. I'm going to be reading a few pieces from my forthcoming book, Moral Judgement of Butterflies. And I'm going to start with a quote that begins the book, and it says, "In the same way, sea turtles are born blindly in a place they can never belong to. I've spent my life building nests between places my heart couldn't leave behind." And so a lot of the themes in my work deal with my heritage and also with the concept of home, and the ever shifting concept of home and what home is. So I'm going to begin with, before the book was called The Moral Judgement of Butterflies, it was called something in Arabic. It was called the word Tidhal. Unfortunately, a lot of people couldn't pronounce that word. And in Sudan, they decided to call a taxi company that. So I kept the poem, which was called Fithal, which is the first poem I'm going to be reading, but I changed. Over time, the poems evolved and I changed the title. So I'm going to start with Fithal. There was a time before borders and stamps decided where we came from. We welcomed births and grievances over teas, measured departures as stories, dust that followed us everywhere. Voices rose and scattered people like an earthquake before prayer in the hearts of men and women disappeared like bread and water. On the morning a traveler set out, he left two footprints behind, one that faced the path he was taking and another that gave him one last glimpse of home before it changed forever. There are boundless events which precede that first cry, before a new life bursts forth and the cord is slashed, before first steps and comparisons to dead and living relatives are made. Our futures shift, recalibrating destiny. We were born to chase our truths in transit. The second piece I'm going to read is called Atlas, and it was inspired by a childhood memory that I hold very firmly in my heart of my mother buying honey and teaching me that when you flipped over the jar of honey, if a bubble didn't surface, then it wasn't real honey. And this is Atlas. My mother taught me how to drag rumors through the desert, make them disappear like men who pretend to have no teeth. She showed me how to split barbed wire, bury its pain in coves I never could find again. Some mornings I find myself tilting like those jars of honey she bought, waiting for that bubble to surface and swallow my doubts before moving on. The next poem I'm going to be reading is called Kuhul, which is, I think most people might know it, is the kind of eyeliner that is used on the eyes, and it's also, in ancient times, was used to open up the third eye, and is a very common theme, I guess. There's a lot of literature, a lot of Nubian literature, especially, that is based around Kuhul. And when I wrote this poem, I was thinking about the fact of like belonging, like feeling like you belong in one place, you know, you're not dark enough, and in another place you're too dark. And I had this image of the zebra, and this is what the poem turned out to be. Kuhul. Is it still called asylum when you race the midnight fall, setting camp under your own dust, half dreaming you're a zebra because the marrow in your bones won't settle for land? And what about the fear strangers paint across faces whenever you cough or share a path? Who will defend the maps taken from the truth by lies? Who will trace the kuhul for our eyes?
I just want to jump in real quickly. This is beautiful, but there's a little bit of background noise in your audio. I just want to, yeah, that we can hear you. That we can hear you clearly.
Is it better like this?
You can still hear it. It's like a crackling noise.
Hold on. Sorry. Technical difficulties. Is that better?
There you go. Much better. That's wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I'm just going to take off these headphones now. I think it's the headphones because I was trying not to yell. It's
That's okay.
4 a.m., but hey,
Yeah.
to hell with it.
Thank you.
All right. No worries. Okay, I'm going to read, the next piece I'm going to read was actually inspired by a short story by an amazing Sudanese writer called Leila Bouleila. And the title is Ostrich. I still dream about my brothers, their laughter in Cologne at night before eyelashes and youth vanished like melon seeds parted joyfully on lips, before lives were arced like pillows, bent and handled by so many stories we stopped listening to the voice and compass of our fingers. My heart is weighed against an ostrich feather after weeks of grapefruits and incense. I'm ready to leave again. Imagined and longed for conversations, way more than anyone I've left behind. I'm gonna move on to the other section of poems which came later on. Those were kind of the first poems that were a part of the collection that I mentioned earlier, Tarhal. These poems deal a lot with the experience of being an immigrant and exile, and self-imposed exile as well. Okay, I'm gonna start with Settle. I wonder what they told themselves when dust settled under carpets and lands where clove, mint, and cinnamon turned to soot, like smell and taste. Why was I too young to remember anything but how my parents argued in the car over the phone bill? So 30 years later, when I get harangued about distance, about forgetting where I come from, I remind myself that a few dial tones away from every how, when, and why is a dagger. How far I felt those fingers searching for illegalities I carried always in my heart. How I sat through 14 lectures in a language I could barely follow and felt more at home than ever. How after dinner for the first month abroad, I stitched the fluffy gut back into that floral duvet. How the customs officer gently unwrapped it on a steel table before cutting it open, waiting for something there to glow. Why then do our answers about love only survive in pictures? Why can a voice hijack so many passengers, but never quietly land? The next poem is the opening poem, the first poem in my book, and it's called Exile. Today, I will iron a shirt and face the wind, map out the city with my black taxi disguise, listen to Indians, Africans, and Arabs, claim my colors, hair, and eyes. Stopping for drinks, smiles, one-night stands, counting people holding hands gentler than mine. Tomorrow I will find a phone booth and call home, listen to threats about the evils of wanderlust, pretend I haven't survived them yet. I will lie and tell them I'm happy at last, wait to hear that wherever I go, walls have ears, and from them, I will never be free. How much longer? They still count days, months, years. I think about those walls and their ears, measuring every day, how long it takes to step out of the shower, tie laces, practice faces, until I'm sent back to a place I fled, but never escaped. Okay, the next poem that I'm going to be reading is an homage to a lot of different people, and some who are alive and some who have passed. And it's about my experiences living in Sudan. And it's called Letters That Drag. For Ha, who danced himself out of the war with jackal laughter, in love with a different woman every night, to wake up alive in the morning. For Ra, Reem, who filled her basement with my books in Umdurman, when I went back and found no home to rest in. For Wa, who made the earth move with smiles, waiting till takeoff to toast with me on a plane out of Khartoum, full of men and women who judged and cursed our freedom. For Fa, whose half-closed eyes ruined every school photo, loving everything at 5% in case it disappeared. For Alif, and for the girl he loved, whose parents wouldn't claim her body at the morgue and bury her because they were found together. For Lam, whose cave embraces from the blue city, for almonds and dates and shade from every passing word, for every act of love that travels timeless as a seed. For Jean, Jassim Makboul, who died at 26, missile launched by the regime into his bedroom. For his family whose grief was muted when they named him a martyr. For Ruwaida, whose laughter still rings in my ears, though she died at a teaching hospital, whose day came when glucose and saline were confused by a doctor, living in a country where death is never questioned. Each of these letters dragged me back to a place I can't believe I survived. Okay, how am I doing on time?
You can keep
Is it
going.
okay?
Great. Yeah.
All right. The next piece I'm gonna read mixes languages, and it's got a few layers to it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's a full moon, so I rise to the occasion, end up at a bar called Estrella, if that makes any sense. You're there pouting in your black dress. It's been a few months, and you say, I abandoned you. Abandoned is what fanatics did to the faith I was raised in when they tore up the sky and left a city of rubble from a word like surrender. But you're okay. You're doing yoga now. Your body is a temple. I think about how many I've buried in mine. Abandoned is how I left home, left my sister and younger brother to pack up their lives as they caved when the last home we knew disappeared under a word like greed. Everything else that came after the country I fled to rusted like an anchor and quit being a choice. I'm a goddess, you say, I need a god, and all I can think of are my parents. Those inshallah futures I cannot share with them because we're not the same people. I can't remember the word in Turkish for forget, only remember. Hatiriyamak. Hatiriyamak, lifting your aunt from her bed into her wheelchair after she lost both legs. How proud you were of those first veins that popped up in your arms before your body was mapped with them. Hatiriyamak, how your parents joked about you dying of patience until you did, though no one mourned. Hatiriyamak, how your whole body went ripe that time you heard someone say, go home, because you knew you needed a new address every time you landed. Forgetting in Arabic is human, a collective act of omission that sinks. Ansa. In Greek, lismono, forget is a pigeonhole we crawl into to escape the vertigo of living. Ansa, that accent that rises like a pyramid in your throat every time they mention home. Lismono, those who claim studying and living somewhere are not the same thing. Hatiriyamak, you belong anywhere you can flee to and return from in one piece. Hatiriyamak, your language will follow you, even into the bed of a stranger with no tongue. Ansa, the way some scents invade and bomb your insides, like a gas that puts you under. Lismono, your nest sometimes. Hatiriyamak, we are born borderless until we touch. The next poem I'm going to be reading is called Watermark, and it's a poem about independence, and it's also a poem about flashbacks. This poem kind of marked a shift in, I think, in how I wrote. I think it was the first poem that I felt, like the poems that I was writing before, I felt I was using a lot of symbols and a lot of my heritage, like hiding a little bit behind things. And I feel like this was the first poem that actually kind of set my voice free. And it's a poem that means a lot to me because I finally put on paper what I'd been carrying in my heart for a very long time. It's called Watermark. Something happens when you lose all your family to a word, when you finally choose sky over light, cloud over howling and slow disappearance. She calls herself sister, though she's more like a radicalized cousin who disappeared on a bus and only hears herself now. A colorblind brother lurks says he won't fire unless he smells blood, life, or sorrow. So where do I hide them? First try your father who raised you Arab and free. Free of what, you ask him? Comb your hair always. Leave the house with your afro. People will remember that. A mother's confession singes. I should have let you go. Waited for that heartbeat to drown instead of birthing you, only to hang like a teardrop from both of my eyes. One of my teeth won't bleach. Look, he says, there's a brown streak and a blue one. I've never seen anything like it. I think of both Niles, of the person I drowned there. Okay, I want to do a shout out to a very old friend and a person who is a survivor. And I'd like to read the next poem, which I wrote about her. She couldn't be here tonight. She's not feeling too well. But I wrote this poem for her and for all the countless women also in my country and in other places in the world where, you know, I think people, sometimes we get caught up between tradition and culture and we forget, you know, the humanity behind each and every one of us. And this poem I wrote for her. And if she's listening, I hope she will enjoy me reading it. You sent her back because it's called Suitor. You sent her back because she ate like fire and bore no children, because the world you were raised in taught you broken things were best returned. Do you think about how she's still moving through life like a paperweight, medicated for the hunger of longing, thirsty for a love that came after you could never provide? She seldom talks about it, just carries on loving in her broken way, unfinished things. Because after 3 divorces, people think you are the problem, not the society that asks a girl to find love where it won't exist. Okay, the next 2 poems are Balcony and then I'm going to, I don't know how I'm doing on time. Yeah, am I okay?
Yeah, you're okay. If you have a few more.
Okay. Great. The next poem is called Balcony, and it's another poem that is it's actually, I used to get into an argument a lot with my dad because he'd be like, oh, you're not remembering your culture, you're not remembering where you come from. And I used to say, Dad, like, if you just wanted me to live as one thing, you know, why'd you take me on this balcony and show me the entire world and then ask me to live in a corner? So that's kind of where the inspiration of this poem came from. I want to hold the truth between us, but there's no currency for love and memories like ours. Describe the home where you grew up, I'm asked on the forum, and all I remember are stairs. Bodies slumped like burlap sacks shifting under my feet, counting in English, Arabic, Greek, until I'm back pacing on that balcony, holding my father's hand as he shows me the world for the first and last time. Forget the views, stay close, he says. So I built ladders in our silence, tunnels, until it was behind me. Love swallows to protect, mother says, as one by one, we went missing. I want to hold the truth between us, to survive love without running. The next poem I have up is Then, and I will end with a new poem that I have never read and I just wrote a few days ago, and it doesn't cover the book, but I'll end with that one. This poem is Then. All right. All that I know about kneeling comes from the ground where I was left to dig until new maps came. Memory sits barefoot on a doorstep, sewing patches as the moon yawns. When I want you, your voice goes missing, like blood in disappearing veins. Where is that musk of doorways? Those clouds we clung to as we chartered the sky. What else is loneliness but a lover, smoking on a ledge near a bed that always smells of then? And the last piece, hold on, I'm gonna pull it up, is called Tell, and I wrote it for a very dear friend who lives all the way in Australia, and I think she's tuning in. Because we have a lot of interesting conversations about, you know, her kids, and also how different it is now in each corner of the world where one decides to kind of settle. And I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm sorry, my desktop is a mess. Sorry, my apologies.
No worries. This has been absolutely wonderful. I will say, getting to hear such an expansive range of your writing. It's such a joy.
Sorry, my computer is like a dinosaur. It might take like a second. So should I read something in between as it opens? I'm so sorry. Is that all right?
If you could read and search at the same time, I'm very impressed.
Perfect. Okay. I'll read one more called Wasiya, and then I'll read that last one. Wasiya is the Arabic word for last will and testament, and I wrote this poem in a very low moment. It's one of the pieces that it's like towards the end of the book, and it's a poem that came in a moment where like just everything went wrong, and I got a little bit carried away, and dramatic, but this is it. How long is a life avoiding the beach, believing God spoke through my father, some found seashell pushed off a shelf I cannot bury? I'd like to think there are aisles of men praying somewhere once I'm gone, that their tongues wrap around where I kept warm like a turban, woven in prayer by strangers, that I am not found stiff, half hanging off a hotel bed, under a phrase book in another useless language. I hope I go dreaming in Arabic because love there sounds like the wind passes through every vowel. Somewhere buried in my voice, there is asphalt singing as brothers build rooms for one another. I find new corners in case I come back. Everyone gets a dua to float across the lake and watch disappear. This is mine. Dua is the Arabic word for prayer. Okay, and it's opened. The poem is called Tell, and it's written after Asmara Danis. You can't tell anyone here about rivers. Blue like that night, caught whispering on the phone about how she couldn't leave, that she was spellbound. The other river is white, like every school counselor who adds a the or pronounces my homeland like Sudan. A leather-bound map. They're always telling common stories about war, asking about Sharia. Mess my face up. Like what? You know, the law there. I pronounce it back wrong, stress a letter, make it struggle like wrestling fish. They repeat until they're cooing. Angel hair, Sharia, from back home, talking shit about someplace, ship my laughter off to so fast you can't tell. Thank you so much for this space. And thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Nia. Thank you, Moad. I am so happy that I have been able to participate and to hear such amazing work from everyone who's been here tonight and in previous evenings. Thank you so much for the space. I really, truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for both coming consistently to these open mics, but also for really sharing yourself this evening and sharing.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you very much.
And people are asking in the chat, where can we find more information about your book? I know it's coming out early next year. Where can we get updates about your work and what you're doing?
The updates, I usually publish them on my Instagram account, which is k.eltinae, and also on Facebook, which is under my name, k.eltinae. And I'll leave also my email address for anybody who'd like to keep in touch. And when it comes out, I will send out an email as well, and of course share it with everyone here at Moat.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
And thank you for staying up to 4 and 5 a.m.
It's always a pleasure. It's always worth it. I love it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I still need to sit with all of that work. Such beautiful words. So thank you. So we're going to round out this very robust evening with the remaining open mic readers. And so I am very pleased to invite Makeda Hooper Mayfield up to the mic to kick off the second half.
Mute myself. Hi, everybody.
Hi,
hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, that was a sound check. Anyway, I'm feeling kind of unapologetic tonight. So I'm going to read that poem. I wrote it back in 2018, I think. Unapologetic. I'm not sorry. I gave it up like liquor and nicotine and making bad boys king and nights that stole the years. I'm not sorry. I'm good, like early morning loving and nappy hair and girls with daddies and peach cobbler and things that dried my tears. I'm not sorry. I'm living in the plus, spitting poetry and loving hard and dissing the C word and sitting on the porch in my slip and copacetic things that ice my fears. I'm not sorry. I'm authentic, like slow dancing and sporting locks and laughing loud and oozing black and saying fitting to and doing juju and other things that make jungle dust if I want to. I'm not sorry. I'm courage, like mama dead and daddy gone and 12 and on my own and 16 and pregnant and bury the middle sister and survive the divorce and bury the daddy and survive and bury the big sister and living every day anyway and other strengths that slayed the fear. I'm not sorry. I'm light in the dark, blinding, shining, turn me on light, like the sun, every day, shining light for me to see what my life can truly be, and other notes that danced on fear. I'm not sorry, I'm divine, like an eclipse or a hood miracle, harvested organs that took my breath and gave it back again. I'm not sorry, I'm love. Pour me out, scrape the bowl, lick the spoon, love. Ain't too proud to beg, love. Ride or die, love. Down in the country with the elders, love. Forgiving incest, love. Raggedy draws, but the kids go to private school, love. 8 Rock, love. Forgiving rape, love. But I didn't eat last night, but the baby did, love. Surviving slavery, love. Taking your whooping, love. Everlasting love. Pushing out a baby, love. Black of the berry, love. Hanging from a tree, love. Taking a knee, love. Die in the Lorraine Hotel, love. Forgive myself, love. Hang on a cross and die, love. And other truths that saved my life. I'm not sorry. I'm free, unapologetically. Okay. So I think I lost y'all.
We can still hear you. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Okay, welcome.
Next. Oh, did you have another piece?
Oh, I thought it was just one.
Be fine. No, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just wasn't sure if you were about to speak.
Oh no, I there's a lot of people here. I'm sure there's. I want to hear some other people too.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that piece.
You're welcome.
Next up, I would like to invite Norm Maddox. Welcome, Norm.
This is tremendous this evening. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna read too. Thinking about that time that people were talking about where there's a veil and it's got kind of thin. So this goes to people that you love that become ancestors. Ashes yearn for company, a partner in life, a trajectory of happily ever afters. She went away love, she came home grief. She packed all her smiles, boxes stacked to the ceiling, handwritten labels, block letter kisses, bubble wrapped hugs, closets full of memories. Feet used to walk in those shoes, a parade of sisters standing in formation. Joy and grief that she comes to visit anytime, uninvited on her whim. No plans on being miserable, leaving the closet door open a crack. Fingers, hearts, eyes read the card with the signature in her hand. Confident she is welcome, she has her own key, although she knocks every time I let her in. The door left ajar, she has a long shadow. I have other things to do. She won't stay as long as her shadow has a place to stand in the hat, in the closet, ajar. This other piece follows in that thread that I've heard weaving through other people's poems this evening. It's called Life in Between Moments. Living in the in-between, neither here nor there yet, between making plans and achieving goals, feeling the blow, absorbing the trauma, being knocked down, using gravity to show the strength to rise up. Between being healed of the wound and being cured by forgiving. The arrogance that comes with being called an expert and the humility to admit how much you don't know yet. Grandma, who's my mama, nietecita, quien es mi hija. I'm none of those names, yet I am all of my ancestors. The being is all I'm doing. I'm blessed to be in between the universe and the universe in me. Peace.
Thank you so much, Norm, for both of those. And that first one I feel really blessed to have seen in writing. I think you posted that, so it was lovely hearing that out loud from you. Thank you. Next up, I would like to invite Brett Benson. Welcome, Brett.
Thank you, Nia. Okay, the first one is called Depths. Down in the depths, fathoms upon fathoms, where the crushing weight of time may suffocate your physical structure. So I sit in the infinite and ask that which brought us here for wisdom. By currents and the sounds of watery bottoms or the dust of eternity overhead, that forever cosmic show. I hope tied to something. Perhaps the bones I owe to humanity's mother some 200,000 years ago in the heartland of Tanzania. I sense somewhere in the solitude of silence that every being came into form from one origin. I ask, as a beaten and bruised mortal, that the same energy which allows wildflowers to bloom and the wind to calm nerves and nature to free the spirit to be my guide. Break my ego. I hope to return home, vibrate from down in the depths. Thank you. And then the second one, I'm originally from San Diego, and there's a lot of beautiful desert down there, and I'm just a big fan of it, especially at sunrise. It's a magical time. This one is called Rest. Cool breeze at dusk, coyotes off in the distance, crickets nearby singing a dusk melody. The whistling wind calming every corner of the concrete nervous system. I observe the stars making their way one by one to light the traveler's way, as if they were on the same journey together. Even with the infinite painted deep purple and dark blue overhead, I did not feel so small or alone, as mice and other rodents call the desert home. A kind of peace with that realization. Thus, I came to this point between jasper rocks and the cactus vastness to the horizon, where my self-knowing was no longer at war. I was and remain at vibration, allowing for a deep exhale. Thus, on these cool autumn desert nights, rest. I am at rest. Thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you for both those pieces. I always enjoy like environment poetry, so thank you. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Yusuf Salam. Welcome, Yusuf.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna read a poem called I Love Jones I Can't Satisfy. It's dedicated to William Bill Pickett, who's in the National Cowboy Hall of Fame. A month ago, I was the trail boss for an outfit that herded cattle to Amarillo, Texas. I fell in love with this gal and asked her to marry me, and she said, "You traveled peaks and valleys of rolling, stony mountains, stars hanging high. You roughed through rumbling rivers as long as the sky. Rattlers done bit you, but you refused to die. You got a love Jones I can't satisfy. You got a love Jones. You've got a love Jones. You got a love Jones I can't satisfy. You grub taters and rabbits cooked in open fires, your head all covered with cactus briars. Longing for loving with thirsty desires, you got a love Jones I can't satisfy. You've got a love Jones. You've got a love Jones. Oh, you got a love Jones I can't satisfy. You a hungry grizzly hunting for hugging, a wife to be your honey pie, growling to mate with a woman who'll be true to her guy. Honey, I ain't the one, sorry, I can't comply. Hear that train hooting down that steel-clad trail, selling first-class tickets one way to hell. My heart pleads for reconsideration of that choo-choo train is a hallucination. You gotta love Jones. I missed that, I'm sorry. I messed that up. Sorry. Could I start another one? Could I do that one over?
Yeah, absolutely. It's fine.
Okay, good. I'll do that one. I got the poems mixed up, the pages. I'm sorry. Okay. Make sure I got the right thing. Let me read another one. I'm good to you, but I ain't no good for you. Every payday I put that cash in your hand. Ain't no doubt I'm your do-right man. I bubble like a Boy Scout who earned a brand new medal. Then I have to leash my macho on back pedal. Sugar, I'm good to you, but ain't no good for you. I'm good to you, just ain't no good for you. Life's been a blurry battlefield of broken hearts. Minnie Mae, Maggie, what you would call it, and Sadie Smarts. Bellies big with babies at the pulpit, abandoned by the honey bandit. Sugar pie, I'm good to you, but ain't no good for you. I'm mighty good to you, just ain't no good for you. We've weathered tides high and low, whether broke or had pockets full of dough. I had 105 fever and you nursed me in bed. Your soothing love raised me from the dead. Honey bun, I'm good to you. Rod knows I ain't no good for you. I'm so good to you, I just ain't no good for you. I hear that troubled train howling my name. Got that itch called the traveling man pain. Like a caged bird when the bars are crushed. Got to go when I feel that flyaway rush. Yes, I'm good to you, but I ain't no good for you. I'm good to you, just ain't no good for you. I'm gonna play poker at the 5-Star Club. Get a pretty girl to give me a body rub. All up my 38 spatial just in case some diarrhea mouth get in my face. Sugar, I'm good to you, but ain't no good for you. I'm good to you. I just ain't no good for you. And that'll be it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you for both of those pieces. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Yeva Johnson. Welcome, Yeva.
Thank you, Nia. Tonight, I'm going to play one time and do one poem because I have a little longer poem. So I'm so thankful to be here. And this has been amazing tonight. Lovely. Like the Forgotten Anonymous, after Muriel Rukeyser's The Life of Poetry, and for my chosen families. I sing to you of loneliness, curiosity, the veils which W.E.B. Du Bois revealed to me and which I pull back and pull back and pull back, crying out for poets, for people, for sibling outsiders, for the end to dichotomous thinking and the disentanglement of the strands of interlocking caste hierarchies and the dissolution of those hierarchies so that the entire African diaspora can heal. I sing to you because procrastination and poetry do not make a pretty picture, because I have to love some of my best friends at a distance. Even my phone no longer has a cord to hold on to. I touch my face, feel my smile through my cheek, and think far into the future when the dust of my skeleton has scattered the four winds and there's only part of my skull rattling around some ditch, playing out my last rhythms with a melody of love's laments, whistling through sphenoid and maxillary sinuses on a breeze that never cooled the passion that had kept my body alive. Exactly how long after 1619 and before the mid-1700s some of my ancestors arrived on this continent, I do not know, but no matter. I was born primed for survival. I sang to you of truth, love, friendship, and death because eventually my well ran dry, my lakes turned to rolling meadows, my snow-capped peaks poked bare sun-metal tips to the sky, my ocean tide did not rise high enough to carry me on the sea of life. I sang to you because a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and BIPOC, Jewish, music, queer, and artist communities sang back in a symphonic tapestry that formed the village that raised me. I sang to you because the Ghost Lines Collective became the definition of infinite love, which overflowed when master poets adored each other in a crowned reading of poem after poem, which then radiated in wave after wave and carried me with them so my tongue could be free. Like a middle-aged Hansel or Gretel, I tapped in and collected refrains one by one to follow a path back to myself. I sang to you because I couldn't ask you to remember me. I was destined to be forgotten. So I asked you to remember a radical feminism where every gender shines true, to remember every color of the human rainbow is sacred, to remember sentient beings are beings, not objects, because I hoped that you would act accordingly. This is what love means. I will sing to you of atavistic wisdom and the last poet, because I drift as dust, sprinkle the dreams of future offspring, because I know not what Yorick said, but listen, my teeth are clacking. I will sing to you because I spent a lifetime seeking to hear my name. I would hear it resounding only after I became a lonely nomadic poet, pushed by a pandemic into an electronic sea of Zoom rooms, to hear waves of Yeva, Yeva, Yeva echo back to me in the chat, the magic box that allowed me to teach you how to say my name. Say it now, because it's soon to be forgotten. I will sing to you of poets living and dead who can sing in real life, on the page or across the web, because you will need this necessary wisdom. I will sing to you because I must release this ridiculous rage my Black, feminist, queer woman, Jewish, fat, disabled poet self knows by heart, because before I even started, I could never be finished. I sing because lights out. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. That was a wonderful, wonderful piece. And we are so grateful to be able to say your name in this space and to hear your voice so frequently. Thank you. Next up to the mic, I would like to invite Josiah Luis Aldrete. Welcome, Josiah.
What's happening?
Oh, you got the cats. Wonderful.
Oh, I always got the cats. This is by the way, Pulano's favorite poet is Norm Maddox, so he wasn't gonna miss this one. Shit. The sister at the beginning started a theme of ancestors, so I'm gonna go ahead with that. Just a quick historical reference, though. This poem was actually inspired by a night that's referred to in the history books as La Noche Triste, which is June 30th, 1520, when the conquistador invaders left the Mexica city because the jig was up. The Aztecs ended up killing 1,000 of them on the way out, you know. And for some reason, the history books all this time referred to that night as La Noche Triste, the sad night. You know, I never really considered it a sad night if you're getting some colonizing, invading motherfuckers out of your domiciles. It's a happy day to me, man. But lo and behold, in my little nephew's history book today, when I was helping him, there was still written the sad night, Noche Triste. So June was the 500th year anniversary of this night. So I'm going to do the poem that I wrote that night. And to be clear, I'm not celebrating the death of 1,000 conquistadors. I'm celebrating the fact that me and my people are still here. Maybe I'm celebrating the death of 1,000 conquistadors, but whatever. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, corridos cósmicos were sung in Nahuatl y Spanglish down 24th Street, y Quetzalcoatlus exploded in celebration in the night sky. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, there are still mechanized conquistadors on horseback, gigante as Orozco murals, hovering just above the telephone wires in our neighborhoods, still looking for that gold. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, the Flowery War theme park was closed for the day. La Coatlicue got her toenails painted for the occasion. The blue eyes of Jesus were spotted in a gumball machine off Mission Street, and the curanderos picked through pan dulce entrails and piñata body parts, looking for that lost freeway off-ramp to Aslan. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, the ashes of Franciscan friars are stuck in the high-tech purgatory of Zoom rooms, praying for souls that are not there, while the upside-down ghosts of the conquistadors go and ask us that same pendejo-ass question that they asked us all those years ago during our sacred celebration. Are you eating human flesh and blood? Shit. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, our brown skin has become a Halloween costume for the huesos. Our huesos have become an exotic commodity, ground down to piedritas for gravel that they pour over our sacred occupied territories, or they toss us into a Mall of America-sized molcajete where they ground us down to a polvo that the bosses use to flavor their bland food with. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, the huesos of the 1,000 conquistadors that were killed are considered a mixture of sagrado relics and freak show attractions, like the elephant man's boner, or the dirty calzones of Juniper Serra, like Juan Diego's nopal-shaped Mary that grew up out of the tierra overnight, sin espinas, pero sangrando santísima sangre, man. If you believe that, I'll tell you another. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, our sangre that survived is not talking to anybody. It stays flowing inside bulletproof ofrendas and is not coming out. It's learned not to trust flesh and blood. Our sangre that was spilt nestles still in the rustle of elote stalks, or is faded to a shade of muddled constellation on the sidewalk alongside the pedazos of old chiclets and bloodstains. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, our youngsters, our children, our hijos, our hijas, they're processed and baptized by Manifest Destiny pharmaceutical companies who recreate them in the lab to perfection only so that they can dilute them later. They then cryogenically seal them inside a paletero's cart only to be cracked open in case of the type of prophecy that might come along that requires electricity, name brands, and lots of killing. On el feliz día de la noche triste, 500 years later, the church, in an act of PR redemption, donated 10,000 Happy Meals and endless crates of holy water flavored jarritos to the celebration, as well as 20,000 colorblind baptisms. But none of us touched any of it. Instead, we drank chocolate. We ate corn and frijoles. We whispered our thanks to our ancestors and to the caracoles. And all those pinche quarters that Cortes put in the jukebox to play those 8,000 Ave Marias after his death finally ran out. And none of us said amen on el feliz día de la noche triste. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Josiah, for sharing that piece and the history as well. I really appreciate it. Next up to the mic, we have Laura Roth. Welcome. I think you're on mute.
Is it perfect? Now can you can hear me? Nice. Hi everyone. Thank you so much. I'm very happy for being with you tonight, and I would like to share my poetry. Well, this poem is called "Looking at the Tower of Babel." I feel sorry for not speaking your language, he said. So we spend all night describing with cold hands some red wine, and then the hurricane, and then the end of the world again, when we all try to understand what happiness means. For God's sake, when we all try to understand, we both carry our luggage till this island, trying to get a little more time, promises we don't belong to this kind of weather. And yet, against all expectations, that woman hung her poems on the wall to feel the havoc of owning another language. Her body belongs to no man. Her body belongs to no land but her dreams. Her body belongs to no man but her fears. And we still try to understand what happiness means. I could have just 1 hour to speak your language. It would be wonderful, I said, because when I make love to you, you have that face for those eyes and you smile with satisfaction. It makes me deeply desire. You can look like when you die. And this one is called My Adeline's Line, and it goes like this. I'll kill you if you save me, and then we should write, type and talk. Un día sí y un día no. Bite a little the last word. Put some poems at the poems box. Take it for granted. The night and the silence and science are all alone. Toma un poco de agua. Toma un poco de letras. Sé, sí, solo, así. And thank you so much. That's mine. Thank you.
Thank you so much for both of those pieces. It's always wonderful to hear your words. Thank you. And next up, I'm going to invite Tarita McKell to close us out this evening. Welcome, Tarita.
Thank you. Wow, what an evening. My people, this is our church. Anytime we come to poetry, this is our church, the daily word, 24/7. Because if we're not here, we're writing it, we're waiting to hear it, But yeah, I'm going to, in the midst of many things right now. So I'm going to read a poem from the book, My People, because I was thinking about what Josiah Luis said and a number of people said, and we just go back to the causes of why things happen and what they turned us away from. This is called My People. And I'm going to begin with a very old song. Wade in the waters. Wade in the waters, children. Wade in the waters. God's gonna trouble the waters. My people turned away from worshiping their source of miracle and magic done. My people turned away from worshiping earth, water, wind, stars, and sun so they could worship someone on a cross. Now so many are lost, deceived and made to believe guilt from another culture, a vulture, polluting our well-beings with sights of non-realistic dreams. Now too many cry because too many die by sacrificial death-worshiping lies. Tried to turn us from the sun and memories of water, fire, light, wisdom. Drums, sacred hums, trees holding seeds with enchantments and glories, telling stories, evoking magic, sacred names, bringing thunder, lightning, and rain. Lord of my law, my God, my people turn from senses, engraved by life's light, where body was first scripture and earth by heaven held the scripts to the laws of life. From water spirits, smells and spells with atmospheric wells of genetic keys, from wind's oracle messages through soft breezes, from mother tongue sacred words connecting third eyes, from bird seasonal flight messages and skies, and the naming of our children for the presence and in our lives, in their lives, in our lives, in their lives. From earth where gardens had worth and birth was not an ongoing pain, where raising the young was not a fearful gain, where life wasn't frequently visited by the insane and maimed for and by a chemically synthesized, drug-infested, diseased, murderous rain. Yes, My people are troubled. Yet they secretly know the poisonous snake they fight each day as ancestral spirits whisper. Whispers miracles and magic done with earth, water, winds, stars, and sun. Where darkened skin sung firelight wisdom, as dark simmering coals housing souls in spiral rows of rainbow lights, seers of scripted sights. Yes, my people are troubled by what might have been, could have been, for before we allowed them to turn us away from worshiping earth, water, winds, stars, and sun, so we could worship someone on a cross. But this too shall pass. 2, Holy Ghost, where heavens bank on earth shorelines, mothers, where tides rise and break by sun, moon, and stars, and children come forth as birthed ships, prophets of immortalities. I said children come forth as birthed ships, prophets of immortalities. Cells, trillions, singing throughout millenniums, holding tones, laws, genes, beams, waiting to astroblast into star life, star-like generations. Generations germinating genies and genies of life, light, blood, living waters, captured and held by wells of human cells and held prisoner of infinite talents, faiths, wisdoms, and prophets. Who, Holy Ghost mystery, spooks us all like a ghost, but our organs cling to that origin, plays keys, fulfills wishes, breathed on banks, and prophets, the prophets of the Holy Ghost, and prophets, the prophets of the Holy Ghost, and prophets, the prophets of the Holy Ghost. Ashe. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tarita, for that lovely, lovely piece. It's always wonderful, wonderful to hear you.
Thank you. And Synchronicity, the Oracle of Sun Medicine, published by Nomadic Press, is out and might be available at MOAD. I know it's definitely at Nomadic Press.
It's coming to the shelves. Thank you, Tarita. And Norm is just holding up the cover as well, if anyone can see Norm's screen.
Oh, thank you, Norm. Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
And we do have one more last reader who's going to share this evening. I would like to invite up Emma Morton. Welcome.
Thank you. My goodness gracious. We're here tonight inspires, uplifts, and opens me up. My poem is Pocket Change. I wake each morning on the streets with the same empty pockets. I walk the streets all day, kicking away trash, leaves, and my thoughts, looking for pocket change. I stand outside high-end places, peering in the windows, watching patrons making purchases, and hope that when they exit, they'll drop some pocket change. My stomach growls from hunger, but I don't have enough pocket change to eat. I continue walking, looking, stopping, and listening for the clink of pocket change. Suddenly, my luck changes. Into the wonderment of my eyes, there's a huge jar of pocket change. I pause, looking left to right, behind me to see if it's someone else's pocket change. Hours go by and darkness draws near. No one claims the pocket change. I look above and thank God for granting me patience to wait to claim the pocket change.
Thank you so much for that piece and for rounding out this wonderful, wonderful evening. Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to all of our readers this evening who have just shared an immense amount of like feelings and history and stories. And so I'm so grateful for everyone who's been in this space and everyone who has been here to listen and to support. Your presence is equally as important. And so I'm just overwhelmed with all of the feelings. I think it's very refreshing to be in this space and to be in this company and share in each other's spirits and feel uplifted. I think every time I come into this and the chaos of the world is existing, but I leave these events feeling uplifted. And so I'm ever grateful for this space. And I do encourage everyone to continue coming to these events. These open mics happen every other Thursday. So our next one will be on November 19th and Lyndon Smith will be our feature. So everyone please join us for that. I'll make sure that the link for that event goes up in the chat. We also appreciate if you are able to support financially. Donations to the museum are always welcome. And you can do so by either donating through our website or by texting. The information for doing it through your phone is texting the number 56512 and typing MOAD SF. And we also really appreciate your feedback on how these programs are. And so we'll have more information in the chat as well about a program survey. So you can just take just a couple of seconds to give your feedback about the events, and it really helps us best serve our communities. And so we really appreciate it. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful rest of your evening. Please stay safe and in the company of other people who continue to support you. Thank you all.
Good night, y'all. It was a wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And thank you for featuring your
Thank
poetry.
you, Eltinaé. Beautiful.
Amazing. Wow, so fantastic.
I mean,
Thank you,
that,
guys. It was
yeah, that, I mean, to stay up so late and read like that, I mean, that emotion, what you
For
lived
real.
through, your
Authentic, bro.
friends,
Yes.
and reading that, sharing that with us, so
beautiful,
so powerful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here and being so supportive. It means so much to me. I mean, I don't have a community like this where I'm at. I'm so happy that I've met all of you.
We're there. We're there, Eltinaé. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nia, and thank you, Elizabeth, so much.
Take care.
Until next time, guys.
Hasta próximo. Ciao, ciao.
We'll see you later.
To everyone.
Good night, y'all.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you, Nia.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone. I look forward to the next one.
We'll see you next time. Thank
I'm
you.
a fan now. Talk.
Bye.
Bye-bye.